Touchdown, Raiders!
Just 5 years ago, Kliff Kingsbury, in his first year at Texas Tech, led the Red Raiders to an 8-win season. And people in West Texas had to be thinking, hey, now this is our guy at head coach. But the last 4 years hasn't gone quite as well. In fact, since 2014, the Red Raiders have averaged just 5.5 wins per season. And if it wasn't for the come-from-behind win during the regular season finale against Texas, which got the Red Raiders to bowl eligibility, then the Red Raiders would have been home for the postseason, and Kliff Kingsbury most likely would have been out of a job. No question that last game at Texas played a major role in the Kingsbury getting at least another year. But you have a feeling that another 6-7 type season, and it's going to be curtains for Coach Kingsbury. Entering this season, it's the defense and not the offense that actually has more starters coming back, and the defense is actually improving a little bit. Now, it's not an Alabama-type defense or Clemson, don't get me wrong, but they did show improvement. We'll talk more about the defense later on. The offense has skilled players to replace, and how? Lose your starting quarterback, Nick Shimonek. You lose the starting tailback, your leading tailback, and you lose 4 of your top 5 wide receivers. Over 70% of the receiving production is erased entering this season. Offensive line is experienced. We'll talk about them later too. That's a good thing. But again, the not so good thing is that you will have new skill players in terms of handling the starting role. Who will be the quarterback? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. You do have at least a couple of choices between 2 quarterbacks who are multidimensional. McLean Carter, saw him play a little bit last year against Texas. In fact, started against the Longhorns in that late season game and struggled. And it was Shimonek who had to come in late to save the day. So McLean Carter, we'll see how he'll do this year, along with Jet Duffy, a sophomore. Both, again, athletic quarterbacks. That's a good thing, but we don't know accuracy, how they are. Will they be as good as Shimonek? That's a tall order. Remember, Shimonek last year threw for about 4,000 yards and over 30 touchdown passes. Hard act to follow. The running game, well, Justin Stockton. This guy last year, over 1,000 combined yards in rushing and receiving. So this year, you have to replace Stockton, who averaged a little more than 6 yards per carry, with 2 guys who didn't even average 5 yards per carry. That's Trey King, who had 5 touchdowns in 2017, and DeLeon Ward. So again, you're looking for the production of that ground game to at least give you 5 yards per carry, and that's something that King and Ward can try to deliver and improve upon compared to last year. As I mentioned earlier, this team decimated by the loss of receivers. They lost their top 3 and 4 of their top 5. Kiki Kute, Cameron Batson, Dylan Cantrell, Derek Willis have all moved on. So now T.J. Basher. Now Basher had close to 30 catches last year for the Red Raiders. Most likely will go from being a supporting cast member to headliner for the Red Raiders. 6 feet 6 inches tall, just under 200 pounds. And Basher, I think, will be the #1 target for whoever the quarterback is for Texas Tech. Seth Collins, you'll have him back, and you get Antoine Wesley. Limited action last year, only 10 catches. And by the way, for Basher, one good thing, if you're a Red Raider fan to look forward to, not many catches last year, but he did average almost 20 yards per reception. So maybe a big play type of receiver you'll have in T.J. Basher. Now, one more thing about the receivers that's another positive as well is that this latest recruiting class of Kliff Kingsbury, 5 of their top 10 rated recruits, wide receivers. So they should be stocked in that area. It's talented, but again, in many areas entering this season, very raw. The wide receivers, yeah, might be a little raw, but not the offensive line. All 5 of the down linemen do come back, and that will include Paul Staworth, the only senior amongst the 5 on that offensive line. So they're going to be in good shape next year as well as this year. He'll play the center spot. And then you'll have at right tackle Terrence Steele, one of the better linemen in the Big 12, just a junior. And right tackle Jack Anderson, who started last year as a freshman. The defense last year still ranked in the lower half of the conference in many categories, but there was improvement compared to what we saw the year before, where it was amongst the worst defenses in the country in 2016. 2017, though, it went up as far as quality. Scoring defense last year, 32 points per game. Still not good, 98th in the country, but that was, believe it or not, a 30-spot improvement from the year before. And run defense, much better, only 161 yards allowed on the ground per game. That ranked in the upper half in the country, 62nd, which was a 56-spot improvement. So as you can tell, the Red Raiders are making strides and they get almost everybody back. So David Gibbs' defense last year, I thought, did some good things. Biggest thing that they did positive was forcing turnovers. They were number 1 in the Big 12 in this department, plus 11, which was, by the way, 13th in the country. Remember the year before, they were negative in this department. So defensive line, you get Eli Howard back, who last year started as a freshman and had 5.5 sacks. And also, too, Broderick Washington, a junior, you'll have a defensive tackle. The 2 linebackers they have back, remember, Tech will play 4-2-5 defensive alignment. Dakota Allen could be the best linebacker in the Big 12. He had over 100 tackles a year ago. You get Jordan Brooks back at the middle linebacker, 89 stops in 2017. And you get most of the secondary back, including Justice Parker, at the nickelback position, 4 interceptions, and both safeties, including Botany Dorsey, now entering his senior year, had 59 stops a year ago. The Red Raiders, again, made improvements. They still, though, have to keep trying to make the progression to being a real respectable defense. They still are not there yet. They still give up a lot of points. They still give up a lot of yardage. Last year, 105th in the country in yardage given up. Let's go ahead and highlight the schedule for Texas Tech. Could be a 3-0 start if they can find a way to get past Ole Miss. I think they'll beat Lamar in Houston. But they've struggled in the past against Oklahoma State, and this year it's in Stillwater. I don't see them beating the Cowboys or the Mountaineers the following week, or T.C.U. in Fort Worth on October the 11th. That's a rough 3-game stretch. The second half of the season sees home games against Oklahoma and Texas back-to-back, but they'll close out the season on the road for their final 2 games. Another team if they struggle like crazy against Kansas State, that game's in Manhattan. And, of course, the rivalry with Baylor, that at Jerry World. Texas Tech, I think this is it for Kliff Kingsbury. The offense, too inexperienced at a lot of key positions. Defense is improving, but not improving at a pace needed to be real competitive in the Big 12. I got the Red Raiders finishing 8th. That's my look at Texas Tech. See you next time.